Good morning, Ron Smith. How are you doing today? Hey, I just want to touch base with you, see if we can't give you some backstory and some insights and a little education on really what's going on with our economy and what's going on with like the Fed chair and all that kind of stuff. There's some reasons why rates haven't cooperated as much as we expected them to. We thought we were going to have lower rates by now. We absolutely still feel that rates are going to be headed down. It's just taking longer. So let's kind of give you an idea on some of those, on why that's happening. Other thing I just heard, the market is heating up. You're probably seeing it. And I'm seeing that, again, it's a national number, but 3.3 offers per sale. So if you don't have your people get it into your lender, we're happy to get, you might want to get that done because the ability to have as strong an offer as possible when you got multiple offer situations makes total sense. The other thing that is also happening, we're selling about 4 million homes a year right now, nationwide. And a stat also came out from NAR that said if rates lower about 1%, that's going to bring between 1.5 and 2 million more people into the marketplace. What's that going to do? So as far as pushing offers up and all those kinds of things, we know inventory is an issue. It's not going away. That's going to keep pressure to keep pushing prices up. So, anyways, Fed's been talking about they want to get everything at 2%. Let's give you some backstory on what's behind that, little education. So again, I'm going to have Barry Habib talk about this, and I would be curious your thoughts. Let's take a listen.
The Fed told us that they're really hell-bent on this 2% yesterday, really the overall Fed, and we'll talk about that. But it explains why when we're getting good inflation numbers that the market was not responding. I think the market was just afraid of what we're going to get out of the Fed yesterday, which was, hey, we're going to continue to hike until we see 2% on the PCE, personal consumption expenditures, core, currently at 4.7%. They're baked in, most of them, 2 more hikes. That's a lot. So the market digested that a little bit yesterday. And again, this explains why there was fears, even though in a couple of days leading to the Fed meeting, that the response was tepid at best to good inflation data and good inflation numbers. But the Fed has been hot and cold in what they've been telling us they're going to be focused on. Just take inflation itself. First of all, it was, hey, we want to now focus on headline inflation because headline inflation is certainly something that the consumer feels. Okay, the markets start to look at that. Then, well, now we really like this super core. So that's core inflation minus shelter. Okay, well, the markets start to look at that because they say, hey, you know what? We know that shelter has a bigger lag. But no, now it is, we just want to focus on core PCE and getting that to 2%. And we did some math on this, and I'm going to go over this with you in a minute. It's hard to get core PCE to 2% because let's just do the math on it. Would have to average 0.166 per month. That's very, very low. Again, I'll show you the chart in a minute and we'll go over that. But further point to the goalposts being moved or the focus changing on what the market's being telegraphed to look at is that I want to hat tip our dear friend David Rosenberg, who has been harping on this point, is that if you go to March of 2022, that's 15 months ago, Jerome Powell himself said the best indicator of an onset of a recession would be when you take the expectation of the 3-month Treasury bill 18 months from now and subtract where it is today. It was about 250 basis points difference. In other words, that the 3-month Treasury bill was expected to rise about 250 basis points over an 18-month period. But he said when that goes inverted, then that's a really surefire sign. The best sign of a recession is coming, and that's when we have to start to be careful. Well, not only has it gone inverted, it's inverted by 115 basis points. And it's been that way for a while. Yet, while he said this is the best indicator and wanted everybody to focus on it, he has remained silent on this, just kind of kept it in the closet now. And to David Rosenberg's point, members of the press aren't even asking him about this. Now, what's really interesting, I've spoken to Danielle DiMartino, who's also just brilliant. And she said, if you ask the wrong questions in the press meeting, you get thrown out. So members of the press really kind of very careful about you know, handling what they asked Jerome Powell with kid gloves. They really kowtow to him and they don't want to make him uncomfortable at any time. It's a shame because he really should be pushed on some of these issues. So I want to show you a couple of charts here because I think it is helpful to kind of recap and see where we are. So look, this hell bent on 2%. Let's remember that the 2% number is a made up number. It was thanks to Janet Yellen, who pushed Alan Greenspan. He didn't want to. And Alan Greenspan, in his wisdom, and Janet Yellen, in her ignorance, Alan Greenspan said to her, let's not let this 2% number get out of this room, right? But now it has become gospel at the Fed, except that Jerome Powell also said 2 years ago, hey, we'll take more than 2%. We'll take an average. So they're hell-bent on it when they want to be, but they seem to move off of it. Well, the Fed funds rate is currently between 5 and 5.25. 9 Fed members in the dot plot said they want 2 more hikes. Some said even more. So it's kind of scary. The end of the year projections for the Fed funds rate from the Fed were between 5.5 and 5.75. Core PCE, it's right now 4.7%. This is the one they wanted to. They bumped their forecast. It was initially going to be at 3.6. They said, well, now they see it at 3.9. So look, we did the math internally, and I'll show you the chart. We think it's going to be around 3.7. It's hard to get this at 2. And GDP, they bumped up. They said we're getting stronger. And the unemployment rate they see, instead of their forecast end of the year being 4.5, they see it at 4.1. Let's remember this is now at 3.7. And we're going to talk about initial jobless claims today because that is showing some weakness. How is it why is it so hard to get to 2%? Well, again, 2% means that you have to average 0.166, maybe a little less than that because there's a compounding effect. There hasn't been a lot of inflation of late, and look at the numbers we've been posting for the past few months. And when was the last time we had anything that would approach that? It was just July. And it's really hard to get numbers this low on core PCE on a monthly reading. So how are we going to get to 2% when you're going to have 12 consecutive months where the average, maybe it doesn't have to be consecutive, but the average for those months is going to be 0.16. You could see we haven't really touched that except for one time in a while. It's not going to be easy for the Fed to accomplish its goals. So unless they come off of this, what it tells us is this: the Fed's not going to come off of this craziness unless something breaks bad. What will break bad? The job market could break bad, the economy could break bad, and a recession. That's what it looks like the Fed is pushing us towards and heading us towards.
All right. That was actually from last week, the 15th. So a bit dated, but it's still great information because it's still all very applicable. So hopefully that helps, give you some insight, give you some talking points when you're talking to people about what's going on and why rates are being stubborn. So a couple of items that you may want to keep in mind. We have a fantastic reverse mortgage product. So I'm actually working with some folks right now. They're selling a home about 8.25, and then looking just to downsize to like a 450 house. So they're in their 70s. And so the reality is they're just going to they have a reverse mortgage, we'll pay it off. Then at that point, they'll just buy another house with a reverse mortgage. So don't count that one out. It's actually a great product, the reverse mortgage purchase product. It's basically just an FHA loan. So the other option that I'm seeing a lot of people looking at is renovation loans. So if you got a property that's got problems or needs a lot of love, renovation loans are available. So just a couple ideas. Give me a call if you got questions, 541-735-9857. Hope you have a great day. Talk to you later.